Hello again, crafters. It's Creative Kristen with you once again. And today we have two crafts that we're going to make that have to do with Jesus humbling himself and taking our sins upon him on the cross. So we have two cross-related crafts that also remind us of the importance of how Jesus lowered himself in order to be lifted up high by God. Now the first one that we're going to make is sort of a little story wheel in a way. So you're going to need a couple of paper plates. You can use small ones if you prefer. And you're also going to need some scissors, some coloring implements, and one of these lovely brad fastener doohickeys, which help things to move. Anyways, we'll get right to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to illustrate how Jesus came from heaven to earth, and then how he went from earth back up to heaven, and in so doing, takes away our sins. So we're going to start by kind of illustrating and writing that out on our bottom plate, and then you'll see what we do with our top plate. So first, we're going to get this illustrated on our bottom plate. So we're going to start with having this at the top, and this at the top is going to be sort of our heaven. And we'll remind ourselves, Jesus came down from heaven. Now, if you'd like, you can color this with some lovely heavenly colors. Yes, hello, cat. You're kind of in the way now. And you can add heart, because of course he loves us, and that's why he came down from heaven. He gave up his heavenly crown. So if you like, you can also draw yourself a little crown here. And then we're going to have a little arrow showing how he came down. And now we have, going to draw ourselves a little earth. Here's how he came to earth. And this is how he showed us the way to live, how he showed us that he loved us, because he was willing to take on the likeness of a human. And being found in human likeness, he humbled himself to death, even death on a cross. And so we have, he came to earth, and then we have, the sad part over here, we have a cross. And we remember that crosses can sometimes be hard to draw, but that's okay. He died. He died on the cross. And then, of course, as he comes to earth, he shows the way, pardon the plate writing, when he died on the cross, he took our sin away. So this is what's happening as we look at the journey of Jesus. What's happening in our lives is he's doing this to cover our sins. And now, here comes the other fun part here. So here's his blood washing our sin away. But now, he's going to go back to heaven. He returned to heaven. And this is the really fun part. He'll come for me Someday Jesus will come. Sorry, that was awful. Anyway, so now we're going to do our top part of the craft. This is going to point to all these things that are happening. Now, more or less, as you can see, the plate is kind of in fourths. It's not perfect, but it's kind of in fourths. So if you'd like to give yourself a little bit of a guide, so you know you are cutting somewhat properly, you can kind of split your plate into fourths, straight on the back side, so you don't have to worry about those little crisscrosses appearing. And then you're going to kind of cut out part of that so we can review this story bit by bit. And again, that doesn't have to be perfect either. Now you have your little Pac-Man here. And now we're going to decorate this part with something that will remind us, of course, of Jesus. So you can have that be a cross if you would like to glue or tape a cross onto here. And I'm going to tape it for purposes of not having to wait for the glue to dry and making sure it is securely fastened onto my plate. Or you can use a picture if you have a little colored picture of Jesus, or you can draw your own Jesus or cut one out of paper. There's all sorts of things you could do to make your lovely Jesus reminder, but we're going to do it very simple for timing purposes. So here is my cross there, and then we can write something to remind ourselves of what this all means. Jesus came down to lift up. And of course, you could also call it the journey of Jesus, or however you want to title this plate. And now you can also add verses, whether from our passage from Hebrews 1 and 2, or from another passage that reminds us of this. Philippians 2 is another good one. We could write both of those. Philippians chapter 2, Hebrews chapter 2. You can throw on some sparkles. You can get creative. This is your craft. Have fun with it. We're doing the basic version for timing purposes. Now, what we need to do is we need to attach that fun brad fastener doohickey that we mentioned earlier. So the best way to do this is to poke a hole that you can fasten it through. Now, we don't want to damage the integrity of our plate necessarily, but I'm going to carefully poke a little hole. There we go. And we're going to try and poke another hole through the other plate in roughly the same spot. And then we're going to affix our fastener through both of those holes. And now here comes the grand reveal. Da, 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 da. Here's our fastener. Don't do it too tight or you won't be able to move. I've made that mistake before. Now we have the story of Jesus. How he came down from heaven. He showed the way for us. My cross is slipping. There we go. Then he died and took on our sins on the cross. Then he rose again, went back to heaven, and someday we will be with him there as well. So there's craft number 1, your story of Jesus wheel. Now craft number 2 is also pretty simple, and we're going to show how wonderful it is that Jesus took on all of our dark and yucky sin and makes us shiny and new. Now there's one tiny material that the cat ran away with, which I will retrieve momentarily. But for this, you're going to need some kind of a cross. You can make your own, or you can use a wooden or a cardboard cross or something. And this is optional. I'm going to put some pennies onto my cross because we're showing how Jesus took away our sins. So what we're going to do is we're going to, since I'm using dark paper because we're thinking of how dark our sins are. So I'm going to attach my little caption with another piece of paper. You do not have to do this. You can use any color of paper and any kind of materials. It's very up to you and your creativity. But we're going to start, we're going to put this on the top, and we're going to write how Jesus paid the price. He takes my sin and makes me shiny and new. Makes me shiny and new. So you can glue or tape this little caption. Now we are going to take our cross, and we're going to remember that he paid that price, that he took on our sins. So we're going to glue our cross down, and we're going to bloop, 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 bloop. Attach our pennies here because we're remembering how he paid that price. You can attach the pennies wherever you like. And then we're going to have that be on one side. Now over here, we're going to, if you would like also, you could maybe even sprinkle some dirt or sand on here to show how our sins are dirty. Then over here, we're going to celebrate that he has made us shiny and new. So we're going to make a happy face here. And I need my smile, which I will get in just a second from where the cat has put it. We're going to scatter this about. You could use glitter, you could use sequins like this, or you could use jewels or beads or whatever you have around. And let me go get my smiley face. And so then we're going to attach our happy little mouth here. And remember that our sins were ugly and dirty, but Jesus took them on, paid that price, and makes us happy and shiny and joyful again. So there you have a couple of fun crafts to remember how important, beautiful, and wonderful it is that Jesus has paid the price, has taken on our sins, and given us new life and new identity in him. Now, this is something that we always want to communicate to our children, but it goes especially well with the passage this week from Hebrews chapter 2. Go look it up if you haven't already. And, of course, feel free to take these, make these, develop them, add your own creative spice, and have a lot of fun with it. So, as always, we do have new messages and craft ideas coming out every week. If you have not already, feel free to like and subscribe, and go make some disciples and make some crafts. Hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.